Hello there. Meet Chuck. He lives in the US and uses dollars for pretty much everything. But when Chuck decides to visit Germany, he finds out something strange. His $1 is only worth 0.9 euros. Then he heads to Vietnam, and suddenly that same dollar gets him 25,000 dong. Confused? So is Chuck. Why does money have such different values in different countries? And why do these exchange rates change constantly? Let's break it all down, from the history of money to the real reasons currencies fluctuate.
To understand why money isn't equal, we need to go back a bit.
Back in the day, countries used the gold standard, meaning their money was backed by actual gold. If you had a dollar, it was worth a fixed amount of gold. This kept things stable. A country couldn't just print money unless it had more gold in its reserves. But as the world economy grew and wars happened, the gold system became too limiting. By the 1970s, most countries switched to something new: fiat currency. Fiat money doesn't have any gold behind it. It's valuable simply because governments say it is, and people believe in it.
So, what gives fiat money its value?
It all comes down to supply and demand. If a currency is trusted and in demand, it becomes more valuable. But if people lose faith in it, its value drops. That's why US dollars are strong, because people want them. On the flip side, currencies in unstable economies like Venezuela can become worthless. When trust disappears, so does the value. One major reason a currency can lose value is inflation. Inflation happens when there's too much money chasing too few goods. Imagine being able to buy 2 loaves of bread for $10 in 2022. Then in 2024, that same $10 only gets you 1 loaf. That's inflation. A real-world example? Zimbabwe. In the 1980s, their currency was actually stronger than the US dollar. But due to corruption, economic collapse, and printing tons of money, their dollar became basically worthless. At one point, it took 600,000 Zimbabwean dollars to get just 1 US dollar. Eventually, they gave up and started using foreign currencies instead.
Next up, interest rates, the cost of borrowing money.
Central banks, like the US Federal Reserve, adjust interest rates to manage the economy. Higher interest rates mean better returns for investors. So when the US raises its interest rate, investors around the world start buying US dollars to invest in bonds or savings. That increases demand and boosts the dollar's value. But raising rates too high can hurt regular people and businesses by making loans expensive. So central banks have to balance growth and inflation carefully. That's why people pay so much attention when interest rates are announced. It affects everything.
Foreign investment also plays a big role in currency strength. When countries are politically stable and open to business, foreign investors flood in. Take China in the late 1970s. They opened their economy, and foreign companies rushed in, creating demand for Chinese yuan. But no one wants to invest in unstable countries. If laws change constantly, protests erupt, or inflation skyrockets, investors pull out. Stability equals stronger currency. The balance of trade is another big factor.
When a country exports products, buyers need that country's currency to pay for them. For example, when Japan exports cars, foreign buyers must use yen, raising its demand. Meanwhile, importing too much can weaken a currency because you're constantly sending your money out. Here's a cool example. The US made a deal with oil producers to sell oil only in US dollars. That created massive global demand for dollars, strengthening its global position. This is called the petrodollar system. Some countries avoid all this by pegging their currency to another. Take Brunei, for example. Its currency is locked to the Singapore dollar at a 1-to-1 rate, or Belize, which keeps its dollar fixed at half the value of a US dollar. Pegging gives stability, but it also means you're tied to another country's economy. If their currency crashes, so does yours.
So why don't we all just use the same money, like a global world dollar?
It sounds simple, but it's complicated. Look at the euro. Countries like France and Germany share the same money, but that means they have to share monetary decisions too. So when Greece had a financial crisis in 2009, it dragged other euro countries down with it. Now, imagine that on a global scale. If one country fails, everyone pays the price.
Lastly,
Should a country always aim for a strong currency? Not necessarily. Export-heavy countries like China sometimes want a weaker currency so their products stay cheap for foreign buyers. Import-heavy countries like Singapore prefer a strong currency to buy goods more affordably. It's all about strategy. And every country plays the game differently.
So now you know why $1 isn't equal to €1 and €1 isn't equal to one dong.
And why currency values change. If you want to learn more about the petrodollar, currency manipulation, or why we don't just print more money, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.